good morning, and welcome back out to another edition of Backcountry Trails. You like that new name, Backcountry Trails? I thought I'd change it up a little bit, take my name off of it. It seemed like it was pretty hard to find, so maybe Backcountry Trails would be a little easier. Today I'm doing a short hike. I really wasn't even planning on going on a hike today. Just so happened my wife had a hair appointment and I had nothing else to do, so I thought, well, I got some time to kill. I'll go knock this one out. This is a trail.
GPS signal lost.
Oh, there goes the GPS signal. Yeah, there's no cell signal back here. But anyway, I'm going to be taking a trail to Tenaja Falls, which is in the Cleveland National Forest. And the road to get down to it, like right here, this section right here is paved. Actually, I think most of it is paved. But it gets pretty rough down at the very bottom end as you get closer to the trailhead, and it's really full of potholes. I don't even know it's even paved. It might be one of those things where maybe it was paved 50 years ago and they haven't touched it up since, and so it's partially paved and partially dirt and rock and who knows what else. But anyway, I've been here before. I didn't realize it had been that long. It had been, believe it or not, like 10 years since I've been here, and it's really not that far from the house. It's only 25 miles from the house, but it takes almost an hour to get here because you're driving down this road, and it's 15 miles an hour. In fact, some of it is freeway, but once you get off the freeway, you have this access point here. And a lot of people get a little nervous because it's one lane and there isn't a lot of visibility. So if somebody's coming up the other direction, you got to look for a spot to pull over so you can pass. But anyway, Tenaja Falls is one of the taller waterfalls in the Cleveland National Forest, and it's actually one of the shortest hikes to get to. It's only about a 1.5 mile hike if you park at the falls parking lot. There's other routes. You can go. You can head south from the Morgan Trail off or take a highway, or you can go into trail into Fisherman's Camp and then go down into San Mateo Creek and go through the San Mateo Wilderness back up to the falls, or you can just drive right to the creek crossing and then cross the creek and then walk up this short trail to see the base of the falls. And you can actually go all the way to the top of the falls and cross over to the other side. In fact, the last time I was here, that's exactly what I did. So that's what I'm looking forward to today. I'm looking forward to go to Tenaja Falls. It rained last week, pretty good actually. It's rained a couple of times in the last month, so this is a seasonal waterfall. So I'm hoping that there'll actually be some water in it. And I know I've been saying this about the snakes, but the snakes are out. I just haven't seen any, and this is going to be one of the warmer days. It's bright and sunny, and it's going to heat up this afternoon to probably the upper 60s, maybe even low 70s. And I've got my fingers crossed I'll see something. I know for a fact they're here because I've seen lots of trip reports. Nothing recent, but a lot of trip reports of quite a bit of rattlesnake activity along that short section of trail up to the falls. So anyway, I got to negotiate this. At this point, it's paved, but like I said, I know in a few minutes it's not going to be. So anyway, I'll check back with you in a few minutes, and when we get to the trailhead for Tenaja Falls, I'll be coming up next to this edition of Backcountry Trails. Well, I take back what I said about the road conditions being not paved in rough, chewed up dirt and rock. It looks like they've paved it since the last time I was this way, and it looks like it's pretty recent. I can see why people get nervous because this is a narrow road, and there is no real place to pull over. I've seen about 5 rabbits already so far, but I can see down into the canyon to my right, and sure enough, it looks like they must have recently paved this. I'd say within the last 4 months, I would think, which is awesome. Makes for a much smoother ride. And the only part that makes me a little nervous is because I did get a later start. The odds of running into a vehicle coming up are probably higher than they normally would be, but it is a Tuesday, so most people are working, or most of the kids are in school, so maybe I'll get lucky and there won't be very many people here. I can imagine this place gets pretty busy on the weekend, especially after a rainy season. So but hopefully today I'll get lucky and I'll have it all to myself, huh? Can always cross my fingers and hope for the best. Well, I take back what I said. No, actually, it's still not too bad. But once I reached the trailhead for Fisherman's Camp, that nice new asphalt ended, and now we're down into the malaria germ of twisting tight curves, and it looks like there was some down brush that they had cleared off the side of the road, and there's quite a bit of potholes. So, if you're only heading down to a Fisherman's Camp and you're going to approach Tenaja Falls from the longer way, you could get down there in a Prius. But this is a little rough, right? It's still doable, even in a regular passenger car. You just gotta, be careful, watch what you're doing. You don't want to blow out your tire on a pothole, so I'm just taking my time. But I'm not too far from the trailhead, probably 10 minutes maybe. I can actually see the gorge where the waterfall is. I can't see the waterfall, but I can see where it's at because I've been here before. So anyway, hopefully in about 10 minutes we'll be there. All right, looks like we've arrived at the trailhead. Looks like we've got a couple down here getting ready to go on a hike as well. I'm going to back in here, right in between them, I think. Well, good morning, and welcome back out to another edition of the Backcountry Trails. Today we're at the Tenaja Falls trailhead out in the Cleveland National Forest, and the falls are just up this gorge here. And of all the trails that you'll do in Southern California to reach a waterfall, this is one of the shorter ones. This one's only about a mile and a half. It's got a little bit of incline, but not much, 150 feet or 300 feet, something like that. It's only a mile and a half, so you can't beat that. This is a seasonal waterfall, so depending on how much rain we get during the season is dependent on how much water we'll see flowing over the falls. But no matter what, it's an absolutely stunning day here in the southern part of Riverside County, and there's only two other cars at the trailhead besides mine. It was a young couple that just headed off down the trail. What we're going to do is we're going to be heading north this direction. We're going to cross over San Mateo Creek and start working our way up the west side, or the left side of the waterfall, and work our way up along to the top of the falls. And if conditions allow, we can actually cross over this pool at the top and get to the other side of the falls, where we can work our way along another side of a ridge and get a great view looking back on the falls. So anyway, this ought to be a pretty quick one. Let's head up the trail to Tenaja Falls. I've seen a lot of signs at trailheads and in the forest, but I can't remember ever seeing one that says no martinis. They don't want you drinking because of the waterfall. It makes sense. Well, we've gone just a short distance from the Jeep, and I don't remember the sign being this well made, but it looks like they've been taking good care of this area. Falls are to the right, and Fisherman's Camp is to the left along San Mateo Creek, which is down there in the trees. You can hear it in the background. We're going to be going to the right. We do have to cross the creek. Hopefully there'll be some boulders we can hop across. We don't have to get wet. Well, this is a sweet little spot here. In the shade of these massive oak trees. There is some poison oak up in here. And there's also some down here on the ground. So you do have to be somewhat mindful of the poison oak. Anytime you're down near creek beds, especially in Southern California, you're likely to see this. There's a section of creek right there. And as you're walking down the trail, if you don't know what poison oak looks like, make sure you take the time to become familiar with what it looks like before you start plowing through the bushes. And just so you know, leaves of three, let them be. That's the old saying. It's a good example right there. Leaves of three. This time of year, they're all nice and bright and green and waxy, so it's pretty easy to identify. And here's another good example of poison oak. Leaves of three. Pretty easy to identify, huh? And this one's growing right along the trail, so you do have to be mindful of that, especially in the corner down there. It's pretty. Well, their signage is pretty good. I did have to do a little bit of dodging of the poison oak as it was encroaching on the trail pretty good, but you can see this massive section of poison oak here in the background. But we're going to be going up that direction. And here's our creek crossing. I've actually waded across this in waist deep water before when the water was flowing. And the boulders, somebody has taken the time, Forest Service I imagine, to cement in the rocks. So there's flat spots to step in between the boulders, and it also prevents the boulders from shifting. It's very thoughtful of them, making this little transition pretty easy and smooth, huh? Well, just a few minutes ago I passed a really nice couple from Minnesota that were coming back from the falls, and I noticed that the man, he had a big large blue bag of dog crap, and I kept looking for the dog and I didn't see a dog. And he said, yeah, these inconsiderate people, you know, they think, you know, you let your dog go to the bathroom along a trail, and instead of letting him do his thing in the bushes and leaving it there to deteriorate on its own, he put it in a plastic bag and leave it right beside the trail, and then walk right by it and not pick it up. So he was upset about that, righteously so. So anyway, they were heading back to the car, and tomorrow they're flying back home to Minnesota, where it's probably 5 degrees right now, and I'm hiking in shorts. It's awesome out here though, isn't it? Well, we've come up the trail a ways, and this is our first peak at Tenaja Falls. And the guy that I was talking to said the falls are flowing at about 30%, which is a little less than I expected, but there's actually 3 distinct sections. That's the longest section there. There's a smaller section above. There's also a pool. We're going to head up there. Eventually we'll work our way to the right. Well, this is the top of the falls. We'll get another angle view here in a minute or so. This is where the falls cascade down into San Mateo Creek. There's a nice little swimming pool down at the bottom. I've seen photos of people down there. Off to the left, you'll see that cleft in the mountain right there. That's the continuation of the road. There's a locked gate. You can't go that way. Tenaja Road. And you can also see the road, the paved section of road that I drove down comes from the canyon to the right. And we basically worked our way up on the southeast side of the ridge line. In fact, here comes another couple working their way up to the falls. So I'm going to see if I can get down there a little closer and get a view before it gets crowded. Now here's another little closer view. Now I know these rocks get slippery, so you have to be careful. Even though they're dry, they do get slippery. All right, well this is the upper pool. Well, something just went running down the trail right there. I don't know what that was. Could have been a squirrel, I wasn't sure. Don't know if it was on camera or not. And it looks like we also have us a benchmark up here at the top of the falls. As it rifles down through the rock and begins its cascade down off the edge. Well, I made it out to Tenaja Falls out here in the Cleveland National Forest. One of the guys I talked to, the guy that was picking up the dog crap, said he's been out here a bunch of times, and the falls are flowing at about 30% capacity right now. So even though we did get some rain a couple days ago and even last week, it's not enough to really peak the volume here. The ground is so thirsty that it's absorbing most of the rain, and it's not continuing downstream and filling up San Mateo Creek. But hey, we'll take it. As you can see, there's a couple of kids climbing around on the rocks over there, and there was another couple that came up actually before me, and I don't know where they went. I never saw them, so I don't really know. But I did see something that ran across the trail into the bushes. I don't know what it was. It could have been just the tail of a squirrel. I really couldn't tell. I just saw movement and a little bit of gray and tan fluff. It could have been a coyote. I'm not sure, but turned out to be a gorgeous day, and you know, it is kind of precarious here on this edge, so I got to be careful. I don't want to slip here. One of the kids actually slipped, and fortunately he didn't go very far, but I think a light went on at his head. Maybe that wasn't a good spot to be standing, so they backed up further up the hill. But anyway, I'm going to take a few minutes here, try to get some good photos and video of Tenaja Falls, and then start working my way back. Well, good morning and welcome back to another edition of Backcountry Trails. In this episode, we took a trip out to Tenaja Falls in the Cleveland National Forest, and it was a short hike. It was only like 2 miles round trip. It didn't involve. I've got Cleveland National Forest radio going on here. I'll turn that off for a second. They're doing a prescribed burn, and I'm kind of keeping track of it. Well, anyway, this hike is a short hike, only about 1.5 miles round trip, so it's really not much to it. It was some elevation gain. There's a little bit of rock hopping toward the end, and of course you get that long, windy drive down to the bottom of the hill, which ended up not being that difficult. But there was a few people there, 4 or 5 by the time I got done, and it was a good day, absolutely stunning day. It was warm that day. It was probably pushing 70, and it felt hotter than that when I was coming back, but it was still a good day. Not as much water as I thought. I thought I'd have a little more, but you know, I'll take it. This year is going to be a low rain year. Normally we get around 12, 30, 14 inches. The last couple we've had almost 20 or more, and then this year we're only at 6, and I think we're kind of done for the year. In the next edition of Backcountry Trails, I take a drive out toward Julian. And I didn't realize it had been that long since I'd gone up there, but I took a hike up to the second highest peak in San Diego County, Cuyamaca Peak. And part of going to Cuyamaca Peak is you have to park in the Paso Picacho campground, which is inside Cuyamaca Rancho State Park. So you got to pay $10 to go on a day hike, which kind of sucks. But and the elevation gain isn't that bad. The loop I did was the Azalea Glen Loop, and then I kind of veered off of that, took a really tough trail. I ended up finding out it was a lot tougher than I remembered. I think I'd done it before, but it was a lot tougher. Called a Conejo Trail up to the top of the Fire Road that goes, it's actually paved, goes all the way to the top of Cuyamaca Peak. There's a bunch of communications equipment up there, but they do have some outstanding views from up there. And so I went up there and worked my way back down. So that's going to be coming up in the next edition of the journal. And there's 2 more hikes I'm contemplating doing. I haven't done either one of them before. They'll be new to the channel. One is in San Diego called Annie's Canyon. It's a slot canyon. It's really short. So I'm going to have to team it up with another hike just so I have enough content. And another one is called a Calavera Volcano. It's, believe it or not, at one point there was actually a volcano in San Diego County. So they're actually fairly close to one another. They're fairly close to the ocean as well. So maybe I'll be doing that in a future episode. Well, anyway, I hope you like this short episode of Backcountry Trails, my hike out to Tenaja Falls. And I hope you, if you haven't already, click and subscribe. And tell your friends about the channel. And don't forget to hit that like button. Well, anyway, hope you enjoy the spring weather we're having so far. Looks like it's going to be just a stellar year. Hopefully summer won't come too early. Well, anyway, take care, and I'll see you down the trail. Bye-bye.